Hey guys, it's Ness here at Cake Style, and today I'm going to show you how to make this awesomely cool witch's house. I want to say a huge thanks to King, the creators of Bubble Witch 3 Saga, for sponsoring this video. They have a super cool game. This game is free to download, and I've added the download link in the description box below for you. When you're in ghost mode, you need to clear a path to the top by bursting all those bubbles, and it reunites the ghost with his friends. Be careful not to trap the ghost though, because otherwise he won't be able to move until you free him. Once you pass level 15, you get to start creating a unique house for Stella of your own. As you build the house, you get rewards that can help you out in the game, and you can also visit your friends' houses to see what those look like. I would love it if you would let me know what you think of the game and what level you're on. And right now I'm going to show you how to make this cool Stella's house cake. So I went ahead and baked 4 slab cakes, and I've let those chill, and now I'm just going to level them all off, and I'm going to start cutting them up into half. So I want to take 2 of my cakes and cut them in half, and I'm going to stack that up as 4 layers of cake. I'm using my sweet buttercream recipe for the filling layers in this cake. Now at this point I'm going to add some dowels to get some structure into this cake. So you just want to mark out 4 spots, cut them to size with some conduit cutters, and then place them into the cake. I'm also going to take another slab cake, cut it into half, add a little board and keep that to the side, because that's going to be a 5th layer on the house. The other half of that I'm cutting into 4 sections, and these are going to be the start of the triangular arches. My 4th slab, I'm going to take a couple of pieces from that to make our 3rd triangle, and then I'm cutting the rest into 3 parts for our larger triangle, which is at the top of the cake. I've let this chill for about 15 minutes in the fridge, and then I'm going to take a bread knife and start carving the shape. You want to do this to all 4 of your triangles and then allow them to chill again. Next I'm going to add that 5th layer onto the cake, and I want to take this time to cut my triangles to the right lengths. So I start putting them on top and just get an idea, and once I know it's right, then I can move on to the main cake. Now I need to create a little bit of roof to start with, so I just want to go down about 1.5 cakes worth and then let it curve in to meet that. I'm also going to have it curve a little bit at the bottom because this house is kind of a little bit swooped at the base. Now I've got some delicious dark chocolate ganache, and I'm going to apply a coat onto all of these cakes. So I want to add a fair amount on there, and then take a scraper and just scrape off the excess. I've put all of my little ones onto a cheese board just so that it's nice and cold and I can pop that into the fridge. And after you've got this first coat, you want to go ahead and chill these for a good 15 to 20 minutes or so before you go and add a final coat to all of them. So don't worry if this first coat doesn't look super perfect, because you do have a chance to come back and add a little bit more to make it more flawless. You want this to be as smooth as possible so that you can add your modeling chocolate on. Now I'm adding a little bit of sugar syrup to the cake just to help these parts stick. I have added in the description box below my recipe for making this modeling chocolate, because every part of this is chocolate, not fondant. So it tastes super yummy like white chocolate, and it's really easy to create panels with. It stays nice and firm and stiff. And I'm going to start by working on the main part of the cake, trimming it up with an X-Acto knife, and at each seam just buffing it with my hands to help it join. Seeing as it's chocolate, the heat of your hands can really help you with this. Now I'm going to roll out a section, and I'm using a multi-ribbon cutter to create the under part of our roof. We want to make sure that there's no part of cake showing at all. Everything needs to get covered up. The next thing I'm going to make is some panels for the start of the roof. Now I always find it's easier just to make one to size and then create all the rest using, basically this is a template, and it just makes the process so much faster, because trust me, this cake took actually almost 3 days of filming to get this done. So it is a huge cake, so you want to start a little bit of an assembly line with everything you do. Now I'm attaching the little triangles to a cake board that I've custom cut. I just used a paper cutter to be able to cut them to size. And this is going to mean that you can pop them onto the cake and it'll maintain the structure, because you've got to have something for the dowels to stop at as we start to build this roof up. So I'm going to work on the roof section of these as well, cutting them all to size. Now every triangle in this case is a different size because you're cutting them and shaving them down by hand. So I make sure that I do each one separately and then apply a little bit of our sugar syrup and attach them all to the sides. These were one of my favorite parts of the cake, all these little triangles, and they're about to get even more gorgeous later on when we create some stained glass for them. Now I'm using a boning tool just to create some markings in the roof, and I go ahead and measure those just so that they turn out really flawless and in the right spot. Now we're doing all of that stained glass, which came up so pretty with all of our colors. I made some circles and then stretched them a little bit. And I'm going to make sure I do the front and the back, because obviously we want to make sure that the front and the back of the cake are completely done. You don't want to have a back that looks bare or looks like you haven't really decorated it. So everything I do, I'm going to do times 2. And I'm just taking modeling chocolate of different colors and I'm matching it to Stella's real house in the game so that every part of it has the identical color that her house really has. This meant making a huge amount of colors all up, but you want to go ahead and just make as many of them as you can, roll them out, and then you can just keep cutting shapes, because remember, modeling chocolate can be left rolled out for a good 20 minutes or so. It's not like fondant, it's not going to dry out on you. Now I've taken a little bit of a cake board and I've covered it in chocolate brown, and that's going to be for the top layer of our roof, for the larger triangle that we're working with. Now while that's all resting, I want to go ahead and start working on the cake itself, like the actual big house part. So what we want to do is create a little doorway section, and I'm going to be using sugar syrup to attach that. And then I want to make the stained glass windows that are on the house. So to do that, I'm using a little bit of the house color to create some triangles, and that's going to make it so much easier to add all of our stained glass onto them instead of trying to put them onto the cake directly. So I've rolled out so many different colors of this, and I'm putting some on the sides and the back of the cake, so that's where I could have a little bit of freedom of color. And so I just rolled out lots and lots of colors and started cutting away all of these little stained glass pieces. Now Stella's house does have a side door that's stained glass, so I want to go ahead and make that at the same time. And you can just attach this with some water because they're such small pieces. Now I'm going to get started on the front door, and what I'm going to do is take some dark brown modeling chocolate and roll it into little sausages. Then I'm going to take more of a medium brown, kind of a little bit orangey, roll some larger sausages and then mush them all together. Give that a good roll, and that will create a beautiful marble wood grain effect. So again, I'm going to use a cookie cutter to get the nice arch at the top, and then taking a pizza cutter to finish that up. I'm adding this on with just a little bit of water because it is a smaller piece, and you can do that with the stained glass as well. Now, the door wouldn't be complete without adding a little kitty face to it, so I've taken some green modeling chocolate and I'm just going to freehand cut a little kitty face with some pointy ears. Now while I've got this modeling chocolate, I want to go ahead and use the multi-ribbon cutter to start making some little sections to create the stained glass outline. So you're going to do this for the side door and also for all of the windows. With the windows, some of the sections I went a little bit thinner than what I could do with the multi-ribbon cutter, so just cut them with an X-Acto knife because you don't want these to look too bulky. I really love how the wood grain effect turned out like this. You could also hand paint a wood grain effect if you wanted it to be something a little bit stronger to really pop off the cake, but I just really liked how natural and organic this kind of looked. And I'm going to apply some water and add these onto the cake. As you can see, I have some windows at the back as well, and our cute side door. Now the side door has a little bit of an overhang over the top of it, so I'm going to use some modeling chocolate to create that as well. And I added a little bit to the front door just to make it have a little bit more presence and a little bit more punch. Now we're finally ready to work on those big arches, and I'm just going to be adding the wood grain effect again. I found that I could tip these on their side, and because they're nice and sturdy, you could work on one side, flip it over, and finish off the other side. We are finally ready to stack this cake up, so I'm going to be using a little bit of ganache to add on these 3 sections. I'm going to be adding some dowels in at this point, right into the points of the triangles, so that the top layer is fully supported. I'm going to add my triangle to the platform that we made already, and then stick this onto the cake. Now we can do all the final trim bits of wood just to finish it all off now that it's joined together. Now it's time to get started on all the cool little accents that make this cake so special. So I'm creating the little beams that go underneath the roof. I've taken some chocolate brown modeling chocolate and I'm just cutting some little squares, but they have one side that's a little bit slanted. And I just want those to go all the way around the cake, again attaching them with some water. And then I'm going to take some yellow modeling chocolate and make a gorgeous star to go on top of this house. And I'm using some floral wire to attach this and place it into the cake. Another gorgeous part of this cake is the chimney, or as I'm calling it, a catney. It's got a little cute cat face on top. So I just want to go ahead and make a long sausage, put some markings in it so it looks like stacked blocks. And then I'm going to use a semicircle for the face. We're going to add some tiny little ears to the top of it to make it look like a cat. And I'm using some chocolate brown modeling chocolate for an adorable face. I'm going to thread all of these onto another piece of floral wire. And then attaching it with some water, we're going to put this into the side of the cake. This house also has some cool vines that are growing around it and on the roof. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of those, again, by applying them with some water and just trimming them up to size. And it's all these little things that really make this cake. Now, because it's Stella's house, it has a cool S that has some little cat ears right above the front door. I just freehanded this, but if you're unsure, you can always find just an S online, print it out, and then use it as a bit of a template for yourself. And you want to go ahead and apply this right above that arch. I'm adding some random blocks. All I did was take a bunch of my different colors that I had from the house and different shades of the brown and just mottled them together to create some little cubes for blocks. To give the roof a gorgeous wood grain effect, I've just taken some clear alcohol as well as some turquoise and leaf green mixed together in our food colors, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint a little pattern. You could again have marbled this modeling chocolate, but I really like adding a little bit of painted elements to this cake just so that it's kind of unique and you can kind of have a fiddle around and get some cool patterns going on. At the front of her house there is a section that is a little bit darker green, so I'm going to take some modeling chocolate to make that pathway, put down a touch of brown on the little door stoop, and then I'm going to take a slightly lighter shade of leaf green and I'm going to cover the entire board. I did this in sections, and as I joined them together, I just buffed them with an acrylic pad. Now, I made a cute little jug of milk as well out of modeling chocolate because she has that right on her doorstep. But otherwise, the cake is completely done. I really love how it turned out. Remember to check out the description box below. I've got the link so that you can download Bubble Witch 3 Saga for yourself. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be back with another tutorial real soon.